If you're one of those people who you haven't been on social media, or maybe you haven't even prioritized your own website or your email list because you just want to be lazy when you're off of work, especially if you're still working full time, especially if you're still in the classroom teaching, or you've just got a lot going on and you're like, you know what? I do feel lazy and I'm not ashamed to say it, or maybe you are ashamed. Don't be ashamed if you are, because being lazy can be one of the best assets you have for getting more of the right things done in less time, with less stress, and with better results. And in this episode, I'm going to prove it to you. I'm going to prove how being lazy can actually be incredibly helpful and useful to you. Hi, by the way, my name is Brittany Verlenich. I'm a content strategist, social media manager, total marketing nerd, and you're watching or listening to the Social Media Magic Podcast. Let's get to it. Welcome back. My name is Brittany Verlenich. I'm a content strategist, social media manager, total marketing nerd. But honestly, I just love the internet. I've been bullish on the internet for years now, and I've also been for a long time very bullish on the sense that you need a real community and a true brand to succeed long term. I think one of the biggest mistakes I see TPT sellers make, and I totally get it because it's so hard when you're short on time and resources, there's a desperate energy of what do I need to do to make money right now? It's this feeling of survival and lack. I've talked about this before. I've actually talked about it a lot. What we experience in the world as teachers, we really carry that into what we do for our businesses. And it doesn't work. If we're constantly in a sense of survivor mode and we're only thinking about what's working right now, which how do you ever really know what's working right now? You might have someone share what's working right now, but what they're sharing working, or is it the other groundwork they did years before? You just don't know. It's really hard to isolate variables like that. That's why I really try to approach everything I'm doing as a scientist and just experimenting in play, because you have to test things out and look at the results to really know how they work for you. And also, something else I've said a lot on this show is just because something has worked really well for one person in one period of time, one, does not mean it's going to work for you, or two, that it's not going to work for you right now. And one of those things that is no longer working for people is set it and forget it SEO. I know it's hard to hear and accept because so many of us come into the TPT world and look into digital products in general because we want the idea of passive income. We want to focus on traveling the world, raising our kids, being there for our families, doing things we really care about in amazing places with people we love. And I'm all for that. I think you all know that by now. I care about those things deeply myself. But the set it and forget it era is over, or at least it's phasing out. And so I just want to give that cautionary tale to you that if you've been very heavily reliant on SEO, whether on a marketplace like Teachers Pay Teachers or Amazon or your website or on Google, I just know so many people who have lost their livelihood. And the reason I keep saying this is because I never know when this is going to be the first episode somebody watches or hears of mine. I never say it to fearmonger because honestly, I'm an optimist and I'm pretty delusional about the amount of opportunity that's out there. And that really works for me. It's worked for me so far. It's gone really well. And there is so much opportunity. For example, if you look at the stats of how many TPT sellers are making money online with their stores, if you look at the percentage and the amount, it's actually not that many. It's very sad to say. However, I also equally believe that it's just as possible for you to be one of those people at the top making good money as it is for you to not be making good money. And you have the opportunity to be a self-fulfilling prophecy either way. Either you're going to decide, okay, great, I'm going to be one of those top earners, or you know what, it's too hard, it's not for me. Either way, you're right. So you get to decide what kind of right you're going to be. If I get to choose what my outcome and my outlook is, I'm going to choose the one where I actually make money and make a positive difference in the world. And by choosing that, I am going to take the actions, make the steps towards having that. That's always how I've been. I feel like it's worked out really well for me, and it can work out really well for you too if you just decide. Now, I'm not a person that believes in just mindset magic in the sense of you decide something and then it magically comes to you. That's not how this works. But the decision is the first part of it. So I had to throw in some mindset there, but this does relate to everything else we're doing because when I talk about these things, I really need to prep you to not have a defeatist approach. Because if you decide that none of this is worth it and it's too hard and you dwell on the fact that it used to be easier, of course, things are going to get harder and more competitive over time. More people are going to enter the market. Things are going to change. Welcome to business. This is the world we're in. You have to be, if not totally embracing it, you need to at least be aware and acknowledging changes. That's just how we've got to roll. Okay, so we're at the end of set it and forget it SEO. What does that mean? First, I'm going to talk about the three realms here and how they're all blending together. And then I'm going to give you very practical examples. We're going to go app by tool. And I'm going to tell you maybe what was working a couple of years ago, what's happening now, and where where those apps and tools are going. Now, of course, this is based on my observation. I spend a lot of time studying these apps, not just on them as a user consuming and scrolling, but actually looking at macro trends. I look at a lot of data. I look at how people are using the app. Like, I actually observe my husband when he's on these apps, and I look at what he's clicking and doing, which I know sounds totally weird, but I'm a nerd about this stuff. I really like it. So let's get into that. There are 3 realms of discoverability and interacting either with your customers or your audience, potential customers. There are 3 ways to really interact with leads, customers, and past customers. And those are through search, social media, and private channels. So when we think private channels, we can think email lists, for example. And that's a non-negotiable for everybody. I think you've probably heard that from everybody at this point. But the cool thing is, if you get a whole bunch of marketing people in a room, it doesn't matter if they're social media first, SEO first, website first, YouTube first, everybody's going to say you need to have an email list, okay? And not everybody's going to say you need to do it right now or as the first thing, but yes, definitely start building your email list and prioritizing that for sure. But when you think about how to actually interact, you're creating content, right? So where and how is that content being found? It's being found through search, which search is really such a bigger term now. It can encapsulate and dwarf those other two, because let's think about ChatGPT and Perplexity for a second. If you use those tools and apps to search, you are getting a different level and personalization and individualization for results than if you go onto Google. So you have these 3 categories. You have search, social, and AI. And each of them have been very popular in the last several years. And as more time goes on, they're definitely blending together. Search engines focus on connecting questions to answers. And traditionally, we would say Google and SEO were synonymous with each other, even though it was never really like that. There have always been several platforms available for search. There are even multiple search platforms for websites, DuckDuckGo and Bing, for example. But Google became synonymous with search. And because of that, Google really monetized and monopolized on the fact that they were the place where everybody was asking questions and they were going to connect those people to the answers. That era is gone. Google now wants to be the core place where they answer questions. People come to Google and don't really leave. You might have noticed this already. They were already trending towards that way with the snippets and the AI overviews. Now they're going to encourage people to use AI mode. For the travel industry, this has been incredibly devastating. As a user, you might think it's actually a better experience, which no harm and no hate there, but it's going to come for others too. So even if you think, okay, I'm e-commerce, nobody is coming for my TPT store or my Etsy shop, I really want you to be thinking again and to get a little more paranoid, not in a way that totally consumes and overthrows your life, but just be thinking about, you can't guarantee that you're going to get Google search traffic to your website if you're selling there, to a Shopify store if that's what you have, or to any of the marketplaces, which are really just websites. And you can't always guarantee that marketplace traffic is going to be there. We've seen personalized search on TPT change things. They're also testing out a version of personalized search on TPT again, so be aware of that. And we've just seen how search has changed through our own behavior. Instead of just searching a few words here and there, now we have long tail keywords where people are putting in basically whole sentences or paragraphs to get something more specific to what they want. As search becomes more personalized and custom, and that's blended with AI, which is why I brought that in, everybody's experiences and search results on the internet are going to become more and more tailored to them. So anytime I hear someone saying, oh, I don't want to be on social media, I don't want to be a slave to the algorithm, babe, you already are. You're already getting the algorithm no matter where you are, because algorithms are just the platform's way of deciding what is going to help you spend more time or money on their app, which basically time and money are the same thing to these tech people. So that's search, and you can see how AI has already come in, right? Google is utilizing AI. We're saying goodbye to the land of blue links and the click economy. That is going away. It's on its way out. AI has become search. And usually when people think of AI, they automatically think of chat. That's obviously the most accessible and widely known AI tool, but AI has been around for a long time. It's just AI as we know it now, generative AI. It's completely changed the game. I know for me personally, I now do more daily searches in ChatGPT than I do in Google. And I know so many other people that's the same thing. So pay attention also to your own search behavior and to the search behavior of other people and what they say and where they search. I'll never forget in 2022 going to a travel conference in the UK, and my roommate, another travel agent, just a few years younger than me. She's not Gen Z. I'm 36. She's 31. So maybe she was like 28 at the time. And she told me, oh, I don't search on Google. I use TikTok for search. And I was like, what? And she showed me, and it absolutely blew my mind that she looks for restaurants, recommendations. She looks for all these resources and outfits on TikTok because she wanted to see personal experiences from humans. So you saw two big movements, and they are still happening: the rise of AI generated content and automation, and the rise of anti-AI and full-on human. And we're still very much in that era. So I also just want to say, if you want to take away one thing from this episode that can help you really stand out and differentiate yourself, think about which side of that divide you like to be on. Now, I know it's hard to pick sometimes because you're like, oh, maybe I'm conflicted. I don't really know. If you believe in your heart of hearts that we should not use AI because it's unethical, it's immoral, we're stealing content from other people, it's bad for the environment, these are all things that are not necessarily untrue. So if you decided, I value these things more than the convenience and the financial benefit I can get from using it, first of all, I admire you. I love it when people have integrity and stand by their values, even if I disagree with what they believe. If that is you, then stand on that and be shouting that from the rooftops in your content. Let people know, my products are not AI generated. I don't use AI for content. Be the person who does not use that in your niche. Oppositely, you could say, I love AI. I automate everything I possibly can. I want to use AI to do as much as I possibly humanly can so that I can focus on the things that do require me and my attention. Maybe the people in your life, your family, or the things in your business that require human touch. Each of those positions are completely valid. AI does cause a lot of harm to the environment, but by the way, so do servers, so do iPhones, so do new cars being produced every year. There are a lot of things that we do that are just more complicated because of the global impact of things now. That's my take on that. So you could have that take and it's completely valid, but you can also have the take that AI completely democratizes the ability for you to build and scale businesses, because that's also true. It also allows you to compete with corporations because they're using those tools for sure. So you have to decide what you really think and believe about that. And in general, if you get louder and prouder with your beliefs online, you will naturally build a community. You will attract more people, so you'll grow your following and audience if you care about that. But not just will you grow wider, you will grow deeper. I just shared on my stories today, and when I look back, by the way, there were so many typos and I was like, oh my gosh, I always do this. I'm just like, I want to get it out there quickly, and then I look back, I'm like, oh, I need to have someone help me with that. But in the stories, I said how my grandma's death really changed my outlook on things, and it did, right? It was pretty sudden. She's the one who raised me. This was back in 2016. And the wild thing is, just a few weeks before she died, I took my first international trip to Europe, which was equally life-changing. My sister and I were there, and we said, this is what we're meant to be doing with our life, not working all the time. And I have been actively working ever since then to shift that. But then I had this major high. I get home a few days later, my grandma who raised me dies right before Thanksgiving weekend, by the way, which is when I was supposed to go see her. So obviously just horrible all around. And I was talking about how this really helped me to see, one, that life is short and precious, that life is scarce, and that the urgency to do as much as you can while you can is very real. So that has lit a fire under me for years now, almost 10 years, which is wild to say. And I have certain things I've accomplished, certain things I haven't. I'm still working towards them. But these beliefs of nobody's coming to save you, which sounds so sad and morbid, but it actually fuels me and makes me optimistic, because I realize, wow, we have a lot of ability on this planet to determine our own lives and where we go. And knowing that really empowers me to make better decisions and to try bigger things, because who knows what's going to happen, right? But if I try, at least there's an option. And I've seen some really cool things happen. Like, for example, I have a revenue stream that everybody says doesn't work, and yet I got to the top 1% of earners with that. You just don't know, okay? Until you decide, I'm going to figure it out. So I shared that on my stories, not directly related to social media or marketing, but because people saw it and connected with it. I got some really sweet messages from you all, so thank you for that. And I shared it because it was on my heart and it was relevant, because I had just come back from a conference and someone was asking me, how are you so productive? How do you do so much output? And I said, because I have a fire lit under me and life is short and I don't know if I'm going to be awake tomorrow. So that's the other thing, is the scarcity, right? So I feel a pressure in a good way to get things done. So I shared that, and related, I guess, because I talk about productivity sometimes too, but the depth of relationship that you get from that is totally worth it for me. And relationships, whether in person or parasocial online, are built one person and one interaction at a time, which is why I often tell people, don't worry so much about followers, getting more followers. That is a natural positive consequence of what will happen when you get louder and bolder with what you do, what you believe, who you're here to help, and how. That is going to happen over time. But what are you doing with the people who are already following you, who are already connected to you? That is what really matters. That is what I've been really diving deep into. And it's also what these AI search tools and what social media platform algorithms care about. At the end of the day, they want to see that you are improving people's lives. Whether it's through entertainment, education, a combination, inspiration, they want to see that. And we have to commit to that and we have to prioritize that. Search, AI, and social media. I've talked a little bit about the first two. Let's get to the last one. Social media apps are all copying each other. I know I've also talked about that pretty extensively here. The TikTokification of the internet completely changed everything. Instagram is no longer just a photo app. It's a video app. Live streaming. I don't know if you all remember Periscope, but when that came out, Instagram's like, yoink, thanks. I'm going to take that too. And now I'm doing live streams here. Facebook, same thing. YouTube, same thing. YouTube has live streaming. YouTube has shorts now. And it would be very easy to have a defeatist mentality and think, oh man, I worked so long to get Instagram good with photos and now I have to do video. Or you could look at it like, this is great. I can take the same piece of content and put it across all of these different platforms. If you're shooting a short form video, guess what? That thing's going up on my TikTok, Instagram Reels, Facebook Reels, and YouTube Shorts. So now that's 4 platforms where I'm showing up and getting visible, sharing my message, attracting leads, growing my email list, selling my offers, and it's the same piece of content. It just takes a couple of extra minutes for me to get it up on those platforms. If you're doing text-based posts, great. Threads, Twitter, Blue Sky, Mastodon, they're basically all the same. So you could use a scheduler like Metricool, for example, and get that same post up everywhere. And here's the really brilliant thing. If you are doing content video first, either with a long form video like YouTube or a video podcast like what I'm doing right now, you can pull the short form video snippets from that. So that makes it easy. And you can pull the text. So this is why I keep telling people it's actually easier if you get on video and get on YouTube, for example, because you can pull everything from there. And by the way, I do have a course out right now that's all about this. It's to help you build your Evergreen Content Engine. The first 2 modules are live and available for people to work through right now. I'll be sure to put more information about that down in the video description if you're watching or listening on YouTube, and in the podcast episode description in case you're listening elsewhere. But that is going to be such a worth it pursuit for you. Over this summer, we're actually going to be meeting at least 12 times to help you build your bank of evergreen content. So at least 12 videos. They don't have to be long, 10 minutes each if you want. But think about that. If you have 12 videos, 10 minutes each, that's 2 hours someone can have to go through your content, learn from you, and really figure out who you are and what you believe. And it's like, how could they not? And while we want to do that from a place of not just what we can get, but we are business owners, so we want to sell our stuff, it's like, how can we not buy something or respond or engage and leave a comment often to someone's email list after that? I don't think it's possible to ignore. The more generous you are, the more likely someone is going to buy from you. And I think that's another thing as teachers and teacherpreneurs, we can really want to gatekeep sometimes because we're so scared because of all the scarcity and lack we've had that someone is not going to buy our workshop because we showed too much in the YouTube video. I really don't think that in the long term. Maybe in the short term, yes, people will say, oh, I don't need it anymore. But honestly, the way that AI tools are going, there is a whole question about whether or not teaching is still going to look the same as it does now. There's already been a lot of revolution there. And worksheets. If you are making simple math fact practice worksheets, first of all, there are so many websites that teachers have been going to since when I was in the classroom to get those. But with AI, you can make those simply. So from a product creation standpoint, we need to be creating things that aren't already out there, that aren't already accessible and available for free and with AI tools. But from a positioning and branding standpoint, why should people buy from you? Instead of just relying on SEO, set it and forget it listings, where we're going to optimize and hope that someone comes across ours and hope that ours ranks above others and hope that our competition doesn't also get good at SEO. They're probably in the same memberships, courses, and programs that you are, and that they don't come and outrank you. We need to have something else. And the one place where people cannot compete with you is with who you are. You were uniquely, fearfully, beautifully, and wonderfully made to be on this planet with all of your unique skills, giftings, personality traits, quirks, flaws. That makes you human. That is how you stand out and differentiate yourself from AI, from your competitors, all of it. So we got to lean into it. So TikTok started as a short form video platform. Now they have long videos on there up to 10 minutes. They're coming for YouTube. Spotify used to be audio podcast first and heavy, but if you've been on the app lately, you will see they are very much becoming YouTube first. They're coming for YouTube ad revenue. So if you have a video podcast, I would sincerely have you considering what is your game plan with Spotify. It would be totally logical if you're like, no, I want to get revenue from YouTube. You might decide, okay, all of my video first content is staying on YouTube. All of my audio only podcasts are staying on Spotify, and you'd be totally valid for that. Or I know that Spotify is prioritizing prioritizing video podcasts for discoverability. So I'm going to make sure everything that's on YouTube is also on Spotify. Also completely valid. You get to choose. ChatGPT, is it an AI tool or is it a search platform or both? I would say it's both. Google Search, is it a search platform, an AI platform, or both? They've said themselves at their recent I/O conference, they are both, and they are heavily going into AI first. They've told publishers, these blogs and websites that have had over 100,000 people visiting per month, hey, don't expect to get your traffic back. So while that might not mean much to you in the e-commerce world, it's a message that they are always going to act in the best interest of their own company. TPT is doing the same thing. Pay attention to what they're doing. They're rolling out new courses and workshops. They want more teachers creating and uploading on that platform. They're inviting competition because it benefits them. So you have to do what benefits you, which means don't just prioritize or leave TPT the way it is because it's been working. You have to be thinking ahead if you want to grow. If you don't want to grow, then you're probably not listening to this. Instagram has been so good to me lately. It's funny because I keep hearing these things about how Instagram reel reach is down. First of all, my personal reels on my travel account are way up. I have clients' account reach, which is way up. I have reels that we posted 5-6 weeks ago getting second and third wins on the platform. So don't make these decisions on a whim. I think it's best for you to really think about what is your discoverability platform. I think you need to have at least two now. Teachers Pay Teachers could be a discoverability platform. So that's one. You need to have at least one other one. And ideally you'd have two proper content platforms. So if you're doing YouTube, use an AI tool like Descript, pull the transcript. Now you have a blog post too. If you have a podcast, show video. Now you have clips for social. Okay. We really need to be thinking from a repurposing standpoint when we're thinking about the content we want to create. These concepts, search, social, and AI, they're no longer separate. I get it because I just said it the other day, like, even though I use AI tools all day, every day, I'm so sick of hearing about how companies aren't integrating AI into their products. So if that's how you're feeling, I'm with you. I get it. But we can't ignore it anymore. It's going to become more and more a part of daily life, not just for online business owner stuff, but in education. It's making waves in all other kinds of industries. It is replacing jobs. It is making certain things completely redundant. And just as another aside, if your sole income right now for your business is digital products, is SEO heavy, you're using things like email marketing, which great, love if you're doing email marketing, Pinterest and SEO on the marketplace, I beg you, for your own benefit, for the benefit of everyone who is financially dependent upon you, also think about diversifying your income and have at least one other income stream aside from this. Even if you can't do it right now, be thinking about over summer, over your next break, over your next big chunk of time, what else can you start building up? I'm going to talk more about freelancing here pretty soon. I have put off talking about freelancing with this crowd because, first of all, one, I have this awesome friend and she has courses and things and I was always recommending her stuff, but now she's not doing it anymore. So cool. I feel good about sharing my experience now. So I will be sharing more about that. But even if you're not doing that, just have something else in your back pocket because God forbid you have to scramble like I see some of my friends doing. There are so many opportunities out there now. We're going to be talking about them over these next few weeks. So omni-channel is where we're going. You need to be thinking about repurposing. You need to have video. Check out the Evergreen Content Engine in my description if you haven't already. Start showing your face and your voice. Use AI to repurpose and save time where you don't need to be doing these certain things yourself. And start adding more of the human touch. How can you be even more human? When people are following you on Instagram, are you following them back? Are you sending them a message that says, hey, thank you so much for following me? I would love to hear, what do you need right now? I think a lot of times people tell Instagram, tell us don't do follow for follow because it messes with your algorithm. Okay, what do you want to see and do on Instagram? I'm on Instagram to attract clients and serve people. I'm not in there to scroll and learn and consume all day. I have other ways to do that. And honestly, I don't have time for that. I want to see my clients and customers and potential clients and customers posts. I want to be engaging with them. I want to be visible by them. I want to be spending more time talking with them than with my peers because I need to know what their problems and what their desires are so I can better plan, create, and sell and position my products and services to meet their needs. And I would highly recommend that you consider the same thing. How are you using social media personally? And do those goals align with what you're doing for business? You need to have a two-way street too. So you're not just asking them to engage, you're engaging with them, whether that's by sending them a message, starting a conversation, not in a spammy way. There are legit ways to do this. And it doesn't mean that we're giving up on SEO. We're just always thinking about how can we leverage what we're already doing and make more of it. So I already mentioned repurposing. Instagram is indexing posts. And if you're here in the US, they have a feature. When you go to the comments, you'll see this little magnifying glass in the upper left-hand side that tells you exactly what the topic or keyword search term is for this reel. So if you can, edit your reels in the app itself, use the text features when you're putting them up on the screen to help Instagram figure out what that is about. Use the captions Instagram does have CC, closed captioning now, but if you can, give it as much information as you possibly can. Don't make long captions and don't keyword stuff for SEO sake, but just think about how every single piece of content can be more valuable. And remember that views don't pay the bills, right? So yes, we want more people to see our content, and we need for them to take an aligned action to get them to the next step. That's either making a purchase, getting on your email list, or sending you a DM if you're going to do DM sales, or coming to a live event, which you can do live streams on Instagram and do webinars that way if you want. Which, by the way, I also have a product coming out about that because, man, we are overthinking webinars, y'all. You can go live on Instagram and make money directly from that. Definitely talking about that. But of course, don't panic. It's going to be okay. We're going to be okay, but change is inevitable. But let's make sure that we're not surprised for the next big thing, because we're going to see a lot more change over these next few years. Thank you so much for watching or listening. Again, my name is Brittany Verlenich. This is the Social Media Magic Podcast. If you're not already following me on Instagram over at Brittany Verlenich, I would love to hear from you. I'm putting up the QR code on the screen in case you are watching on YouTube or Spotify, just so you can see how my handle is spelled out. If it lets you do the QR code scanner, I know it's weird if you're watching on a phone, but sometimes it lets you do it depending on which phone you have. And come follow me, and don't just follow me. That's cool if you do. Thank you. That's cool that if you want to follow my content, but I would love to hear from you. So send me a message. Let me know if you have any questions from this episode or what you would like to see more of next. All right, bye.